There is nothing broken in you, nothing that needs repair. You are not a machine gone wrong or a puzzle with missing pieces. You are not a project that needs managing or a story that needs rewriting to suit someone else's narrative. You are not here to be fixed because you are not faulty. You are here to be freed. Freed from the illusion that you ever needed to be more than what you are in this sacred breathing moment. From the time we arrive on this earth, we are bombarded with subtle suggestions that we are incomplete, that we are somehow not enough, not yet, not quite, not ever, unless we strive, unless we earn, unless we prove. But the truth, the eternal truth is this: you arrived whole. You arrived divine, you arrived worthy, you arrived enough. What came later was conditioning. What came later were opinions. What came later were stories that others had written in their own pain and unknowingly passed on to you. But the soul beneath those stories, it has never changed. You see, the soul doesn't need fixing. It only longs to be remembered. It only longs to be released from the prison of your own forgetting. You are not your wounds. You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are the awareness beneath it, all spacious, still, unshaken, and eternal. You are the witness who sees it all but is bound by none of it. So why do we spend so much time trying to fix ourselves? Because we have believed the loudest voice, not the truest one. We have given our attention to the surface noise, the opinions of the world, the judgments of culture, the comparisons we've made, and in doing so, we have silenced the whisper of our inner knowing, that sacred voice that does not shout, that does not condemn, but gently reminds us, you were never meant to live like this. We don't need to become someone else to be free. We only need to remove what is not us. And the beautiful thing is, freedom does not require force. It requires surrender. Not a giving up, but a giving over. A letting go of the armor we built to survive in a world that taught us to fear being ourselves. The pain we carry is often not our own. It is the inherited fear of those who came before us. Their doubt, their scarcity, their trauma, their shame, passed on not because they were cruel, but because they were asleep. And now we have the choice not to fix what they gave us, but to release it. We were taught to seek wholeness in doing, in earning, and achieving, as if we were born empty and must spend our lives filling a void. But there is no void in the soul. Only the illusion of separation from the source that created you. When you return to that source, when you become still, when you breathe, when you listen, you begin to see with new eyes. You begin to remember that wholeness was never something to seek. It is something to return to, something to uncover, something that's been buried beneath layers of expectation, fear, and identity. Imagine a magnificent sculpture hidden beneath a block of stone. The sculptor does not add anything to the marble, he removes what is not the masterpiece. And so it is with your life. Healing is not about becoming something new. It's about shedding what you are not. And in that shedding, you find the freedom you've been chasing all along. There is no need to run anymore. There is no need to strive toward some imagined perfection. The soul does not evolve by force. It unfolds by grace, by stillness, by trust, by the deep inner knowing that nothing real can be threatened, that who you truly are cannot be damaged, that the self beneath all the noise, the timeless, formless, eternal self, does not need therapy, does not need improvement. It needs only recognition. And when you begin to see yourself through the eyes of the divine, you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And begin to ask, what do I need to let go of that's not mine? You begin to ask, what story am I still telling that's keeping me small? You begin to ask, whose approval am I still chasing, and why do I believe I need it? These are not questions to judge yourself, they are keys to your own prison. Because the only thing keeping you from freedom is the belief that you are not already free. You were conditioned to believe that your worth was tied to doing, but your worth is in your being. You were taught to hustle for love, but love is your nature, You were raised to believe peace is something to find, but peace is what happens when you stop running. The ego will tell you that you're not enough, that you must strive harder, perform better, prove your value, but the soul waits patiently for the day you turn inward and remember, you are not your ego. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the role you play, the name you were given, the mask you wear. You are not your mistakes or your achievements. You are not what they said about you, and you are not what you said about yourself when you forgot who you were. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the ocean, not the waves. You are the light, not the lampshade. And when you recognize this, when you truly embody this, the need to fix yourself begins to fall away. You stop trying to polish your reflection and start honoring the radiance that's always been there. Freedom is not the absence of flaws, it's the absence of judgment. It's the end of resistance. It's the softening that happens when you meet yourself with compassion instead of criticism. When you hold your sadness like a child and say, you are safe with me. When you embrace your confusion without trying to solve it. When you allow your humanity without labeling it as failure. This is the paradox of awakening. The moment you stop trying to change yourself is the moment transformation begins. Because true change is not born from shame. It is born from love. When you finally see yourself clearly, not as damaged, but divine, you don't need to be fixed. You simply allow your true self to be seen, to be known, to be honored. And in that space, life begins to unfold in its own miraculous rhythm. There is a great stillness within you, deeper than your fear, deeper than your past. It is the stillness of your own divine essence, that sacred flame that was never extinguished, only covered. And when you sit in silence, when you breathe deeply, when you let go of the need to prove or protect or perform, that stillness becomes your teacher. It whispers the truth you've always known, that you are not here to become worthy. You are here to remember that you already are. The world may never affirm this truth for you. In fact, it often does the opposite. It celebrates effort, not essence. It rewards masks, not authenticity. But the soul doesn't care for applause. It longs for alignment. It longs for you to remember what it whispered when you were still a child, before the conditioning, before the comparison, before the pretending. That whisper said, you are already home. You are already whole. You are already free. But to hear it now, you must unlearn. You must unlearn the belief that healing comes from adding more and more books, more affirmations, more rituals, more effort. Sometimes healing is subtraction. Sometimes the medicine is silence. Sometimes the breakthrough is in the breakdown. And sometimes the most spiritual act is to stop trying and simply allow yourself to be exactly as you are, without resistance, without apology. This doesn't mean you won't grow. It means your growth will no longer be a frantic race to fix what you believe is broken. Instead, it becomes a gentle unfolding, a return to your true nature, the way a rose doesn't strive to bloom, but simply opens in the light. You were born to open. Not to earn the sun, but to reveal what has always been hidden beneath the armor of self-doubt and the weight of expectation. Look around at nature. The tree does not apologize for how it bends toward the light. The river does not question its twists. The mountain does not feel shame for its stillness. The moon does not ask permission to shine. And yet, you, the most miraculous creation of all, were told somewhere along the way that you must apologize for simply being who you are. That you must hide your tenderness, that your sensitivity is weakness, that your joy must be earned, your tears must be silenced, and your uniqueness must be diluted so others feel more comfortable. But you were never meant to be acceptable. You were meant to be authentic. And authenticity begins the moment you stop trying to be more and start allowing yourself to be enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are, a divine expression of life itself. You do not need to fix your pain. You need to listen to it. Let it speak. Let it rise. Let it move through you like the tide. Don't dam it up with false positivity or drown it with distractions. Let it tell you where it hurts. Let it show you what it's still carrying. And then not with judgment, but with compassion, place your hand over your heart and say, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you now. You've tried being hard on yourself. You've tried self-criticism and guilt and endless striving. Where did it get you? Tired, disconnected, afraid to slow down, afraid to stop, afraid to be still. But try love, try gentleness, try radical self-acceptance, not because you've earned it, but because your soul was never unworthy to begin with. It's easy to love yourself when you feel successful, inspired, enlightened. But freedom is found when you can love yourself in the confusion, in the darkness, in the mess. The soul doesn't reject your mess. It moves through it like light through shadow. It doesn't say, you should be better by now. It says, welcome, you're safe here. Let's go deeper. And when you go deeper, you'll find the pain wasn't asking for punishment, it was asking for presence. It wasn't a sign that you are broken. It was a sign that something old is ready to be released. You are not your trauma. You are the space that witnessed it. You are not your depression. You are the awareness that feels it. You are not your anxiety. You are the stillness beneath it. And when you stop identifying with the waves and remember you are the ocean, everything changes. Not because your circumstances change overnight, but because you stop resisting what is, and in doing so, you become truly free. You do not have to pretend anymore. You do not have to force joy. You do not have to chase perfection. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, with every contradiction, every question unanswered. Enlightenment is not the absence of humanity, it is the embrace of it. The fully awakened soul does not live above the storm, it knows how to dance in the rain. So stop asking, what do I need to fix in me? And begin asking, what do I need to love in me? Stop trying to escape your feelings and instead invite them to tea. They have wisdom. They have stories. They have roots that trace back generations. You don't need to analyze every detail. You don't need to solve every wound. You need only to stay with it, breathe through it, trust the process of release, not as a technique, but as a sacred return to self. Because the self, the real self, the one untouched by the world, has never been damaged. It is not a personality. It is not an identity. It is not a role. It is the pure light of presence. It is the observer. It is the stillness beneath all doing. And when you sit in that stillness long enough, when you become aware of the awareness itself, healing ceases to be a goal and becomes a natural byproduct of returning to truth. You are already that which you seek. Not someday, not if, not once you've read one more book or healed one more wound. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, as you are, the only veil is the thought that you are not. Spiritual freedom is not about becoming better, it's about becoming real. Not in the eyes of others, but in your own. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to see you and you finally see yourself. The moment you stop waiting for permission and you grant it to yourself. The moment you stop running from your past and realize that every step, even the painful ones, were part of your unfolding. Nothing has been wasted, not your detours, not your heartbreak, not your silence, not your confusion. Even your regrets have led you here to the edge of awakening, to the doorway of truth. And now you must decide, will you keep trying to fix yourself into worthiness, or will you lay down your tools and simply return to your divine essence? Because freedom begins when you no longer believe that your value is negotiable. When you stop asking the world to validate what was already written in the stars the day you were born, you were not made to be perfect. You were made to be real. And in your realness, you radiate more light than any mask ever could. The healing you seek is not in becoming someone else. It's in unbecoming everything you are not. Every belief that says you're too much or not enough. Every lie that says you must earn love. Every inherited shame that says your emotions are inconvenient. Every label that was never yours to wear. Let them fall away. Let them burn in the fire of your awareness. And let what's left the raw, tender, powerful truth of who you are stand tall in its sacredness. Because the truth is, you don't need to be fixed. You never did. You only need to stop believing the thought that says you do. The illusion that you need fixing is born from comparison. You measured yourself against someone else's path, someone else's timeline, someone else's rules. But the soul doesn't compare, it knows. It knows the perfection of your own journey. It knows that the seasons of your life do not follow a clock on the wall or a calendar and a planner. They follow the rhythm of the cosmos, the divine choreography of unfolding. Your winter is not your punishment. It is your preparation. Your delay is not your denial. It is your deepening. And your breakdown is not your end. It is your initiation. You were never behind. You were becoming. You were never off track. You were being rerouted. You were never late. You were ripening. And all this time you thought life was punishing you when it was actually preparing you to carry your light with humility, to carry your freedom with reverence, to carry your voice with truth. There is something in you that has never been touched by shame, something in you that has never forgotten your original light. And if you sit with yourself in silence, if you listen deeply without trying to solve, that something will rise. And it will not be loud. It will be still. Like the hush of early dawn before the world wakes. Like the sacred pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. That stillness is your truth. That stillness is yourself. And it doesn't need healing. It needs space. You do not become more valuable by becoming more palatable. You do not become more worthy by becoming more agreeable. You do not become more loved by becoming less you. The moment you sacrifice your truth for someone else's comfort, you lose the very freedom your soul came here to embody. You were not born to fit in. You were born to awaken. To show others what is possible when a human being stops trying to fix themselves and starts trusting the perfection of their own becoming. And yes, it can be messy, but freedom is not clean. It is raw, it is vulnerable, it is beautifully human. And in your most human moments, your tears, your fears, your quiet longings, the light of your divinity shines the brightest. It says, even this belongs, even this is sacred, even this is part of the unfolding. Let go of the belief that your pain disqualifies you. It qualifies you. It softens your heart, humbles your mind, cracks the shell of the ego so the soul can pour through. Do not hide it. Do not bury it under spiritual bypassing or intellectual armor. Bring it into the light. Hold it in your hands like a sacred relic. Let it teach you. Let it open you. Let it remind you that even the darkest night holds a purpose you may not yet understand. The caterpillar doesn't understand the chrysalis. It only knows stillness. It only knows the surrender of no longer crawling. It only knows the silence that precedes transformation. And so it is with your journey. You may not understand why it feels so heavy. You may not see the wings forming beneath your skin, but one day you will break through what once confined you. One day you will fly, not because you fixed yourself, but because you remembered yourself. And that is the great paradox. The more you try to change yourself from a place of rejection, the more you suffer. But the moment you embrace yourself fully in the raw, the real, the incomplete, something miraculous happens. You begin to heal, not by force, but by love. You begin to transform not by effort, but by grace. You begin to rise, not because you climbed a ladder of self-improvement, but because you laid down the burden of pretending and let yourself be carried by truth. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to perform your healing. You don't need to prove your progress. You only need to breathe, to pause, to return. And in that return, to whisper softly to yourself, I am here, I am whole, I am free. Your freedom was never lost. It was only forgotten, covered over by the noise of the world, hidden beneath layers of conditioning and survival. But the truth cannot be erased. It can only be ignored. And the moment you turn toward it, the moment you trust that whisper more than the scream of fear, the veil lifts. Not all at once, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully, but always perfectly timed. You have tried being everything you thought you needed to be. Now try being nothing but who you are. You have tried controlling every outcome. Now try trusting the mystery. You have tried running. Now try resting. You have tried earning. Now try receiving. And see what happens when you no longer demand anything from life except to show up with an open heart. You are not your defense mechanisms. You are not your coping patterns. You are not your shadows. You are the one who is aware of them. And awareness is healing. It does not condemn. It does not fix. It simply sees. And in seeing without judgment, the very patterns that once held you captive begin to dissolve, not because you fought them, but because you loved yourself through them. So many spend their lives chasing enlightenment as if it were some peak to reach, some badge to wear. But true awakening is so simple. It's the moment you sit down, exhale, and realize, I am okay. I am enough. I don't have to become anything other than this. That is what the great mystics spoke of. That is what freedom feels like. Not a constant high, not a state of perfection, but a profound peace with what is. A deep yes to your own aliveness. The soul doesn't need to be impressive. It doesn't care how many people approve of you. It only cares if you approve of you. If you can look in the mirror and not flinch, if you can stand in your truth without shrinking, if you can walk into the world no longer asking, am I enough? But instead declaring, I am. And when you live from that place, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract people who recognize your truth, not because you perform for them, but because your energy resonates with their soul. You begin to draw in experiences that match your authenticity, not because you manipulated them, but because life mirrors back what you believe. And the more you embody your own freedom, the more you become a permission slip for others to do the same. You don't need to be fixed, just freed. Freed from old identities, freed from generational wounds, freed from expectations that were never yours, freed from the lie that says you must be anyone other than who you already are. The healing is in the allowing, the freedom is in the remembering, the awakening is in the surrender. So pause right now, breathe. Feel your heart beating. That is not brokenness. That is life, that is love, that is divinity pulsing through you. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to fight for it. You are it. There is nothing wrong with you. There never was. There is only the forgetting and the sacred, glorious, unstoppable journey of remembering. And so we return not to where we began, but to the place within that never moved. You may have searched in books and rituals and gurus and systems. You may have traveled miles, spent years, and emptied your heart looking for the key to wholeness. But the key was never far. It was always within. Not in the striving, but in the surrender. Not in the fixing, but in the releasing. Let it be known, the work is not to fix yourself. The work is to stop abandoning yourself, to stop betraying your truth for the comfort of others, to stop dimming your light to fit the mold of the fearful, to stop apologizing for existing. Your freedom does not come through perfecting your flaws. It comes through honoring your wholeness, even in the presence of those flaws. Because wholeness isn't about being flawless. It's about being true. The wound you thought disqualified you, it made you a healer. The heartbreak you thought was the end, it was a portal. The mistake you thought would define you, it was the invitation to forgive, to rise, to soften into your sacred humanness. And the shame you've carried for years, it was never yours to hold. You can lay it down now. You are safe to be seen. You are safe to be known. You are safe to be loved, not for who you could be, but for who you already are. Can you feel it? The softening in your chest, the quiet recognition in your belly, the sacred breath returning to your body. That is you coming home. That is you remembering. That is you no longer rushing, no longer fighting, no longer trying to fix what was never broken. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a sacred unfolding, not a final product. There is nothing final about you. You are ongoing, infinite, evolving, yet never incomplete. The seed does not apologize for not being the tree. The moon does not shrink because it is not yet full, neither should you. Because freedom is not something you arrive at. It is something you allow. It is not a mountaintop you must climb. It is a truth you must remember. The prison was never made of steel. It was made of thoughts, of stories, of beliefs passed down by the afraid, the ashamed, the asleep. And now you awaken. Awakening is not about transcending your humanity. It's about embracing it. It's about seeing that your fear, your sadness, your longing, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of aliveness. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it is your gift. Your longing is not your weakness, it is your guidance. Your emotions are not liabilities, they are invitations to deepen. And when you stop resisting them, when you stop labeling your inner experience as wrong or broken or messy, you begin to live as you were always meant to, free, fluid, whole. There is such power in your softness, such beauty in your vulnerability, such truth in your tenderness. You do not have to harden to survive. You do not have to toughen up to be respected. You do not have to edit your soul for the approval of a world still asleep to its own divinity. Be soft, be open, be real. That is where your strength lives. That is where your peace is born. Forgive yourself, not because you were wrong, but because you believed you were unworthy. Forgive those who hurt you, not because they were right, but because they too forgot who they were. And in forgiveness, find your wings, not because you want to fly above life, but because you are finally light enough to walk through it with grace. The path forward is not paved in perfection. It is paved in presence, in allowing, in radical honesty, in compassion for your younger self, in tenderness toward the one inside you who tried so hard to be lovable. That one is not your enemy. That one is not your flaw. That one is your beginning. And now you are your return. Return to your body, return to your breath, return to the space between thoughts where truth still lives. Return to the moment again and again until the moment becomes your home. That's where freedom waits. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Always now. Let them misunderstand you. Let them label you. Let them doubt your path. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to embody it, to walk it, to live so deeply in your truth that others remember their own by the way you move through the world. And no, you will not always get it right. You will falter. You will forget. You will fall into the old stories now and then. But that is not failure. That is the rhythm of remembering. That is the spiral dance of awakening. Each time deeper. Each time softer. Each time freer. So breathe. Feel this moment. Not with your mind, with your being. Can you see? There is nothing to fix. There is only something to feel, something to remember, something to love. And that something is you, whole, sacred, free. You are not the events that have unfolded in your past. You are not the bruises left behind by someone else's misunderstanding of love. You are not the echoes of pain, nor the lingering fear dressed up as memory. The pain happened, yes, but the suffering, that's a choice your soul no longer needs to make. Pain is a signal. Suffering is a story. And you, my friend, are the author of that story. You can put down the pen. You can stop circling the same sentence. You can choose to no longer reread the pages that made you weep. Because while pain is part of the human journey, suffering is a loop created by the ego, fed by identification with what was, instead of presence in what is. We live in a world where hurt seems inevitable, but that is only because we confuse what happened to the body, to the circumstances, to the mind, with who we are. But the soul does not bleed. The soul does not break. The soul does not suffer unless you tell it to. There is a space inside you, wide as the sky, still as the ocean before the wind, that has never been harmed. And the moment you return to that place, the moment you remember that your essence is untouched by all that has occurred, the chains of suffering begin to loosen. You see, the ego thrives on attachment. It builds monuments out of wounds. It decorates its walls with the past, then sits you down in the middle and calls it truth. But truth is not found in the stories you replay. Truth is found in the awareness that watches them silently, without judgment, without pain. Pain knocks at the door, but suffering is when you let it move in. You feed it, you dress it up, you give it your name, and suddenly the experience becomes an identity. But you were never meant to be the experience. You were meant to witness it, rise from it, grow through it, and let it go. The flower does not mourn the storm. It simply drinks the rain and blooms again. You too are designed to bloom after the breaking. You too are wired for healing, for rising, for returning to the light. But first, you must release the grip. You must stop clutching the pain as if it defines you. Because the longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes, and the more you forget how light your soul truly is. There is no shame in being hurt. There is no weakness in having been wounded. But there is great power, holy, radiant power, in saying, this happened, and I choose to stop carrying it. This broke me open, and I choose not to suffer anymore. Not because the pain didn't matter, but because I matter more. We live in the echo chamber of our own minds, repeating thoughts as if they are commandments, when they are only invitations. You are invited every day to pick up thoughts of peace instead of pain. You are invited to say no thank you to the voice that insists you must suffer because you once hurt. You are invited to stop sitting in the courtroom of your past and start walking in the garden of your present. Do you remember what freedom feels like? It is not the absence of pain. It is the absence of identification with it. It is the knowing that though your hands may tremble and your voice may crack, your spirit is unshaken. That though your eyes have wept rivers, your soul is still the sun rising over them. Let me tell you something your heart already knows. You have everything you need to be free right now. The gate is open. The key was never lost. You only needed to remember that the pain is not your home. Pain is an event. Suffering is a dwelling. And you have lived in that dwelling far too long. Move out, find the stillness, sit in silence, and listen not to the noise of old narratives, but to the soft whisper of truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. The human experience is filled with contrast, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, comfort and discomfort. But none of these are permanent. They pass through you like the seasons. And suffering is what happens when you try to stop the season from changing. When you say, no, let winter stay forever, even when spring is knocking, you don't need to fight what happened. You only need to stop resisting what is. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the first step to reclaiming your power. Because the moment you say, yes, this happened, but it does not define me, you reclaim the throne of your being. You stop serving the past. You start serving peace. And peace, my dear, is always available. It's not earned through punishment. It's not achieved through reliving your wounds. It's not won by proving your suffering was real. Peace comes when you say, I have suffered long enough. I have paid the price in tears, in tension, in the years I could not feel the sun. And now I choose light. You can drop the weight. You can drop the narrative. You can choose to carry only the lesson, not the scar. Forgiveness is not just for others. It is a balm for your own heart. It is saying to yourself, I love you enough to let you breathe again. I love you enough to stop punishing you for something you couldn't control. I love you enough to allow you joy. And that is the beginning of true healing. Not fixing the past, but releasing it. Not changing the memory, but changing your relationship to it. Not waiting for an apology, but giving yourself permission to rise. You are not your pain. You are not your grief. You are not your story. You are the still awareness behind it all. The ocean that holds the wave. The sky that holds the storm. When you remember this, when you embody this, the suffering begins to dissolve. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop adding weight to what is already heavy. You stop dragging the chain and start walking free. Even now, as these words meet your ears, something inside you remembers. A softness, a silence, a space untouched by trauma. This is your true nature. This is your home. Return to it. There comes a moment in your inner evolution where you look in the mirror not to see your face, but to meet your awareness. To recognize that the reflection staring back is not the entirety of who you are. Beneath the surface of the physical, beyond the drama of the emotional, deeper than the noise of your thoughts, lives the still and spacious presence of your soul, and it has never been hurt. The body remembers, the mind repeats, but the soul observes in silence, untouched by all of it. You are not the memory, you are the one remembering. You are not the pain, you are the witness of the pain. And in that sacred awareness, all suffering begins to soften. Suffering only survives in resistance. It needs your agreement, it needs your participation, it needs your attention to grow, but once you stop watering it, it withers. Once you say, I no longer need this story to feel real, you begin to exit the prison of identification and step into the open air of presence. Do you realize how many years of joy we delay, hoping for a better yesterday? How many mornings we waste because we're still reliving an old night? And yet, the present moment, this very breath, has never left us. It sits patiently, offering peace in exchange for surrender. Not surrender to the pain, but surrender of the need to make it personal. When we suffer, it's not the pain itself that crushes us, it's the meaning we assign. It's the belief that it was unfair, that it shouldn't have happened, that it took something from us that we can never get back. And yes, it's true, things happen that pierce the soul, that bring us to our knees, that change the shape of our lives. But it is also true that no event, no matter how deep the wound, can alter your divine identity. You are not here to carry burdens forever. You are not here to relive every wrong. You are not here to be the keeper of anguish. You are here to awaken. You are here to remember. You are here to be free. And freedom does not come when everything is resolved. Freedom comes when you stop needing everything to be resolved. The great paradox of healing is that it does not require forgetting what happened. It only requires releasing your grip on it. Holding on is not proof of strength. It's a misunderstanding of where your power comes from. Your power was never in remembering how you were hurt. It's in remembering that the hurt cannot touch your essence. A storm can bend the branches, but it cannot uproot the sky. And you, dear soul, are more sky than tree. You are the spaciousness in which the pain passed through, not the pain itself. And here is the most freeing realization of all. It was never your job to suffer. It was never your duty to carry the weight of other people's actions. It was never your purpose to punish yourself for being human, for having feelings, for needing love, for not knowing then what you know now. Let go of the should-haves. Let go of the why me. Let go of the questions that circle but never land. The universe does not demand explanations. It only invites evolution. You did not fail because you were hurt. You are not broken because you still feel. You are simply unfolding, growing, cracking open into something wiser, something kinder, something lighter. And lightness does not mean forgetting. It means remembering who you are beyond what happened. It means finally telling yourself, I've heard enough. It's time to live again. There is a sacred space within you that has not aged, not changed, not been stained by anything you've endured. This space is your truth. It is always calm, always open, always whole. And every time you choose not to suffer, even in the smallest of ways, you come closer to that space. Every time you breathe instead of judge, release instead of relive, observe instead of attach, you come home. Do you see now? The pain already happened. There is no undoing it. But there is something greater. There is outgrowing it. There is rising from it. There is transmuting it into something that no longer poisons your heart. Yes, the memories are still there, but so is the witness. And the witness, the real, you knows that peace is not something you earn by punishing yourself. Peace is what you receive when you choose to stop fighting what already ended. Stop defending your suffering. Stop building shrines to your scars. Stop believing that your pain is the most interesting thing about you. There is a vastness in you waiting to be known. There is joy in you waiting to be reclaimed. There is purpose in you that has nothing to do with what broke you. This moment, this very breath is asking, will you let go? Will you let the past walk away without chasing it? Will you set down the heavy armor you no longer need? You may not know what comes next. You may not have all the answers, but you can choose peace anyway. Peace is not a product of understanding. Peace is a product of acceptance. And acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean saying what happened was right. It means saying, I will not allow it to shape my life one moment longer. That is not weakness. That is awakening. Let yourself weep, yes. Let yourself feel what was never felt. Let the grief rise, not so you can suffer, but so it can finally move through. The body holds pain until we're ready to release it. Let the tears fall, but then let the tears dry and walk forward. Not away from what happened, but toward who you truly are. Forgiveness does not mean the past is erased. It means you are no longer willing to suffer in its shadow. It means you have chosen your soul's freedom over your mind's righteousness. It means you no longer need to prove you were wronged in order to prove that you are worthy of healing. And you are worthy, not because of what you've endured, but because of who you've always been beneath it all. Right now, in this very instant, you are being called into remembrance, not of your wounds, but of your wholeness, not of your failures, but of your eternal nature, not of your identity as the victim, but as the conscious presence who cannot be victimized. The ego will scream. It will beg you to hold on, to stay loyal to the pain, to keep circling the same story. But you are not the ego. You are the awareness that watches it spin. And in that awareness, there is the power to choose again. There is a kind of liberation that doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or fireworks. It arrives in the quiet moments when you finally stop asking why and start whispering thank you. Not because the pain was good, but because it awakened something inside you that was asleep. Because it brought you to the edge where you could no longer pretend, and in that still place, you finally remembered the truth. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become now. The suffering ends when the identification ends, and identification is nothing more than a habit of attaching to thoughts that don't serve you, a habit of believing the emotions without questioning their source, a habit of clinging to a version of yourself that no longer exists. But habits are not who you are. They are just choices repeated. They are just grooves in the mind, and grooves can be smoothed. Patterns can be undone. The brain rewires, the nervous system relaxes, the identity untangles the moment you say, this does not belong to me anymore. You may feel afraid to let go. There is strange safety in suffering, a false sense of control, a familiarity in pain. But healing asks you to step into the unknown, to loosen your grip on the drama that defined you, to say goodbye to the identity built from wounds, and walk into the light of who you've always been before the story, beyond the scars. Can you feel it? That quiet voice rising inside saying, There's more to you than this. That voice is real. It is sacred. It is the soul reminding you of your vastness, your strength, your divinity, and it will wait as long as you need, but it will never stop calling. You do not need to be fixed. You only need to be remembered. Not by others, by yourself. Remember the softness you buried, the innocence you silenced, the laughter you postponed. Remember what it felt like before the pain taught you to armor your heart. That place still exists. It is not gone. It is not broken. It is simply waiting beneath the rubble of your resistance. And the resistance is not you. It's just fear dressed in logic. It's the voice that says, if I let go, I'll be weak. But letting go is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Anyone can carry pain. But to release it, to truly open your hands and say, no more, that requires a courage the world cannot measure. The world may not understand your healing. It may still ask you to explain. It may still define you by what happened. But your soul is not here to be understood by those still asleep. Your soul is here to awaken and to shine so brightly that others remember how to wake as well. You are not the emotion. You are the space it moves through. You are not the thought. You are the stillness that watches. And suffering fades when you stop mistaking the weather for the sky. This breath right now is a chance to come home, not to the old identity, but to the open field of awareness where nothing needs to be solved and everything is already whole. How long will you delay your peace, waiting for the past to apologize? How long will you postpone joy, hoping someone else will finally see your pain and make it right? The truth is, they may never understand. They may never say the words you long to hear. But your healing does not depend on their awakening. It depends on yours. You can choose to forgive without permission. You can choose to let go without closure. You can choose to stop suffering even if the world continues spinning in ignorance. Because you are not here to win a courtroom battle. You are here to live, to be free, to love without condition, to release the anchors and fly. And yes, part of you will resist this. Part of you has grown so familiar with the story that it feels like a second skin. But you are not here to live a life of repetition. You are here for transformation. You were not created to carry pain forever. You were created to awaken through it, to become a vessel for compassion, to become a lighthouse for others still caught in the storm. There is no nobility in suffering. The soul does not evolve through punishment. It evolves through presence, through surrender. Through the decision, again and again, to choose love over fear, even when the fear seems justified. You will feel the temptation to revisit the pain. The mind will want to dissect it, to solve it, to find meaning in the chaos. But meaning is not found in the mind. Meaning is what the soul creates when the mind becomes silent. Can you sit in silence? Not in avoidance, but in reverence? Can you feel what you've been avoiding? Can you let it rise? Not to attach to it, but to finally witness it without judgment? That is where healing begins. Not in fixing, but in seeing clearly. Not in resisting, but in allowing. Not in blaming, but in blessing. Bless it all. Not because it was right, but because it brought you here. Because it cracked the shell around your heart and allowed the light to pour in. Because it reminded you that even in the darkest hour, something in you remained unshaken. That something is your eternal self. The part of you untouched by pain. The part of you that has watched lifetimes come and go. The part of you that is pure awareness, infinite, formless, serene. And when you live from that space, the suffering has no foothold. It cannot anchor into stillness. It cannot grasp what is not grasping. It cannot survive in the presence of truth. The truth is this: you are free right now. You do not need to earn it. You do not need to wait. The gate is open. You simply need to walk through. Let the memories be just that, memories. Let the pain be a teacher, not a tenant. Let the suffering dissolve in the silence that holds no resistance. This is not a destination. It is a return, a remembrance, a homecoming to the soul that never left you, even when you turned away. You are the light beneath the wound. You are the peace beneath the thought. You are the presence beneath the noise. And the moment you stop looking for healing and become the space in which healing happens, everything changes. There comes a holy moment, quiet and unannounced, when you no longer seek to be rescued from your past because you realize you were never truly trapped by it. The door was always open. The chains were always imagined. And the only captor was your belief that you had to keep suffering in order to honor what you had been through. But you don't honor pain by holding it. You honor pain by freeing yourself from it. You don't need to suffer to prove you've been hurt. You don't need to wear the memory as armor. You don't need to explain to anyone why you are ready to be free. It is enough that your soul is ready. Let this be the moment you stop rehearsing the story. Let this be the breath that no longer carries resistance. Let this be the second you say, I forgive myself, I forgive them, I release the grip, I surrender the fight. And then just rest. Don't reach, don't strive, don't try to force a spiritual awakening out of the rubble. Just be still long enough to feel the light that never left. Rest in it, float in it, let it hold you. This is where transformation happens. Not by force, not by effort, but by resting in your true self. The part of you that does not need healing because it was never hurt. That is the great paradox of healing. You begin by thinking you are shattered. You work, you cry, you climb. And one day, through grace or surrender or silence, you realize there was nothing to fix, nothing to put back together. You were whole all along. You just forgot. You are not broken. You are not fragile. You are not your lowest day. You are not the echo of someone else's behavior. You are not the failure you feared. You are not the child who didn't know how to protect themselves. You are not the adult who carried shame like a shield. You are divine presence. You are eternal stillness. You are the sky that witnessed it all and remained unscathed. Can you feel it now? The breath flowing in and out without judgment, the heart beating without apology, the stillness beneath every thought, waiting like an open palm. This is grace. This is your nature. This is what suffering tried to cover, but never could destroy. There is no enlightenment in punishment, no salvation in shame. There is only this, remembering, returning, releasing. And you can do that now. Not later, not when the world is safer, or your mind is quieter, or they finally say they're sorry. You can return now because the path home was never outside you. The pain happened, yes. And some of it cut deep. Some of it left you breathless. Some of it made you doubt the goodness of the world. But look at you now. Look how much you still care. How much you still long to grow. How much light still leaks through the cracks you thought would consume you. That light is your proof. Proof that the soul cannot be extinguished. Proof that your essence is stronger than your story. Proof that even when the mind screams in pain, the spirit whispers peace. You do not need to become someone new. You only need to become who you were before the world convinced you to suffer. Let go of the label, let go of the guilt, let go of the need to carry every hurt as if it were sacred. The sacredness is not in the wound. The sacredness is in your becoming. Yes, you've known darkness. Yes, you've tasted bitterness. But bitterness is not your home. Grief is not your identity. The soul cannot be defined by what it survives. If you need a mantra to carry forward, let it be this. I am no longer willing to suffer. I release the need to be at war with what was. I choose peace, not because it is easy, but because it is who I am. And repeat it. Not just with your voice, but with your breath, your posture, your presence. Say it when the memory resurfaces. Say it when the body tenses. Say it when the ego tries to seduce you back into its narrative. I am no longer willing to suffer. I choose peace. I choose peace. I choose peace. And each time you say it, something old falls away. Each time you say it, something sacred is remembered. Each time you say it, the past becomes lighter until one day it is no longer a weight but a whisper, a chapter, a part of the journey, not the definition of it. This is the gift of awareness. This is the gift of awakening. Not that pain disappears, but that suffering does. Not that you forget, but that you remember more deeply who you truly are. And who you are is not fragile. You are light, embodied. You are love, remembering. You are wholeness, reawakened. You are here, alive, awake, and ready to stop surviving and start living. Ready to stop circling and start soaring. Ready to stop suffering and start simply being. Because the pain happened, yes. But the suffering, that ends now.